In this video, we're going to cover how you can use batch recording to make your production workflow more manageable and efficient. Making a podcast can be genuinely exciting, and that's one of the reasons to start in the first place. But stressing about what to talk about each week or when you're going to find time to record can only suck the fun out of it. If you're not organised, it can be something that you can start to dread each week. And if that's the case, you probably won't stick with it very long. And this is where batch recording can come in handy. It makes planning and sticking to a schedule much easier. And if you suddenly have a crisis in your personal life, or you're just having a week where you want a bit of a break from even more work, you've already got all your episodes lined up and ready to go. Batch recording just gives you more flexibility with your workload between each recording session. If you've got all your episodes ready well in advance, you'll never have to face the choice between rushing an episode last minute or skipping a week in your podcasting schedule. You'll put out quality episodes consistently, which is one of the key things when it comes to driving audience growth.
But what actually works is consistent content.
So what kind of shows does batch recording work well for? Here's a few different criteria worth thinking about to help you decide if batch recording is right for you. Your episodes connect together. Firstly, if each of your episodes connect to the next in a running sequence, batch recording is a great way to make sure they flow well together. Having what was discussed previously fresh in your mind as you record the next episode makes it easier to segue seamlessly between topics and themes. Your content is evergreen. Next, think about the shelf life of your content. Do your podcast topics stay relevant for months after you've talked about them? If you're not restricted by the need to keep up with trends that come and go, batch recording could be great for you. You record with co-hosts. Batch recording makes scheduling and logistics much easier. It can be hard to coordinate times when you and your co-hosts are all free to record if you operate on different schedules. Recording multiple episodes in a single session means much less time spent going back and forth, trying to pin down a time or a place that works for everyone. So when is batch recording not a good fit? While it does have advantages, batch recording isn't for every podcaster. You're new to podcasting. Firstly, if you've just started producing your show, you probably shouldn't start batch recording just yet. It might be wiser to go more slowly at first, at least till you find your footing. That way, you don't have to commit to a certain style or direction for lots of episodes all at once. You can figure out what works best for your show through trial and error, one episode at a time. Next, if your content relies heavily on keeping up to date with current information, batch recording isn't going to work. Releasing an episode talking about news that happened 5 weeks ago isn't going to be much use to anyone. Just realised these title cards aren't meant to be said, they're going to be. Similarly, if you regularly answer listener questions or interact with your audience during episodes, that might not work so well if you batch record. Feedback and questions from your audience has the potential to become outdated very quickly, and this is usually much better managed on a rolling week-to-week basis. So, if your show meets the right criteria, how do you actually go about batch recording content? Here are the 5 basic steps you need to follow. Step 1 is to schedule. You should block out an entire day in your calendar to record. Make sure you put it far enough away that you've set time to prepare. Setting a date a week or 2 in advance should give you enough time to work with. If you're recording with lots of guests on the same day, make it clear in your correspondence that timing is tight and they should be on time or risk not being able to record.
And you're late. What? You're late.
You should also leave a buffer of at least half an hour between each guest to make sure that you're not constantly rushing them from one recording to the next. Step 2 is to plan. The beauty of batch recording is that you can see the big picture. You can make sure the sequencing of your content works nicely and has a coherent flow. Write episode outlines or scripts, or if you have guests, research them thoroughly. Consider putting in more detail than you usually would if you were doing a single recording. Back-to-back recordings can be pretty exhausting, and you might have less brain capacity to think everything through on the day. So the more work you put into prepping now, the easier it's going to be in the future. If you fail to do the proper groundwork before your scheduled recording day, you'll struggle to get everything done in time. You shouldn't be mapping out your content outline right before you turn on your microphone. Step 3 is to sit down and record. We'd recommend closing your emails and turning your phone off to stay focused on recording. You should maintain a good pace, but don't rush through to get to the end. If you find your energy levels dropping, take a quick break and come back to it.
Oh, what a day.
You might find batch recording really tiring at first, but you'll get the hang of it as you get more practice. Step 4 is editing. It's a good idea to factor in time for editing in a batch session soon after you're done recording, while the topics are still fresh on your mind. This also means that you'll get the vast majority of the work done in one day. For example, you might want to record in the morning and progress to editing in the afternoon. Of course, that's not always possible. You can always edit on another day, but try to do it as soon as possible after recordings have taken place. And finally, step 5 is to repeat the process. It's a good idea to book in your next recording session as soon as you're done with the first. This will help keep you organised and motivated to stay on top of your podcasting schedule. If you release one episode a week, following this process can allow you to record an entire month's worth of content in a single day. Obviously, it's quite demanding in terms of time up front, but if you put the effort in at the start of every month, it will free up your cognitive bandwidth to focus on other priorities, such as your business or day job. It lifts the pressure that comes with having to prep and record a new episode every single week. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you found these tips helpful, please consider hitting that like button. And if you do have any questions about batch recording, drop them down below and we'll get back to you. And finally, we do publish a new episode of the Podcast Lab series very regularly, so make sure you hit subscribe so you can catch all the latest tips and guides on how you can create audio worth listening to. See you next time.
Want to skip the learning curve and launch a top-tier podcast right off the bat? Then let the professionals handle it for you. At Podcast.co, we offer an all-in-one production service for brands, artists and thought leaders, and we take care of every single step, from branding and editing to marketing and distribution, and the results speak for themselves. Send an email to David at Podcast.co today to learn about how we can work together.